Hello everyone, this is Sergei with you, and welcome to my Magic channel. For the past 2 years I have been actively playing Magic: The Gathering in the Commander format. I dedicate a lot of time to this, interact with people, and start helping them build their decks, adjust their decks so that their gaming experience is better. So if you have recently started playing the Commander format or are playing Commander, welcome to this channel. If you have just started playing Magic, then Commander might be quite a challenging format for you because it uses almost all the cards in Magic's history. And to dive right into it, you will need to spend some amount of time. But if you are brave, skillful, and capable, then in that case, welcome. Or if you want to understand the topic better, you're also welcome. You might know me from what I used to do on YouTube, which was tank content. Well, this is the other side of my hobbies. Hobbies to the extent that I can tell you something about Magic right now. But first, let me immerse you a little in what I play with, what is with me daily, so to speak. This is a suitcase, and inside it, specifically for Magic, there are these boxes, 15 of them. I have 15 decks with me. Each of these decks offers a unique gameplay experience. I simply cannot give up the uniqueness of gameplay in Magic, which is why I have such a collection of decks. Some of the decks I previously assembled were dismantled because I realized that the gameplay they offered, even considering that I build everything myself, I don't use Edoharek. It's not interesting to me. Why would I need someone else's experience? I'd rather gain my own. That's it. Edoharek, for those who don't know, is a site where for each commander, which is a legendary creature, there is a list of cards that supposedly synergize well. But other people's lists are not for me, I decided once, so I've always built my decks myself. And the gameplay that a particular deck provides may either suit me or not. Right now, in front of you are 14 decks where the commander is specified, along with the theme for which this commander is assembled. Accordingly, Magus Lucy Kane is about spells. Sauron, the Lord of the Rings, is reanimation. Eowyn is about humans. It's tribal. It's a tribal deck with a white color. That is, at its core, it's mainly a white deck. Zurzoth is about mono red, randomness, and warp effects, like shuffling everything or partially dumping half the deck to see what happens. Shelob is about lure effect, where a creature must be blocked by all other creatures. Liberty Prime. Richard is Voltron, where a lot of equipment is piled onto one creature, making it very big and strong. What's with Voltron? When I start showing the decks, you'll understand what I mean. Sermon of Many Colors is control and combo. In the game, you can control other opponents. You can respond to opponents. And you can win either by combat or combo. Combat is directly dealing damage. Dealing commander damage is a separate topic. It's also a win condition or combo. So, Surman of Many Colors is a combo mill. Control deck. Since I also have a competitive deck, I try not to use mega strong cards in all my other casual decks. And in general, I try to ensure that the cards within these decks do not overlap, so that I always see new cards when I change gameplay. Well, Sermon of Many Colors is precisely about counterspells and such. Caesar is about death triggers. It's pings for the deaths of all your opponents. It's Zulaport effects. And it's a kind of aristocracy where we consume our creatures to gain some resource and kill opponents with 1,000 cuts. Merry Pippin is a token overrun deck. Heads I Win is the only deck that I didn't build myself. I was gifted the Precon Heads I Win. Tails you lose. But it's a coin flipping theme. This deck was from one of the Magic developers, Gavin Verhey, and I saw a few videos of him playing with this deck, and at that moment it impressed me greatly. I really wanted to have it, and I was gifted this deck, thank you very much, to my girlfriend. And I also carry it with me. I play it rarely, because I know how strong this deck is. Marnus Kalgar is a CDH deck. It's a competitive deck. There's a format where you sit calmly and play cards. Overall, whether you win or not isn't that important. The main thing is to have a good game. But CEDH is competitive EDH. It's a format where you play to win. To win, and that's it. In other words, only victory matters. Megatron Tyrant is an artifact stacks. The 13th Doctor and Asmin Khan are impulse draw, and Davros is discard. This is when we make, if we're talking about themes, I have 14 themes there, then in general each card defines a theme. In fact, landfall, planeswalker, and cantrips, discard, ramp, CEDH, exile, combo, big mana, blink, and you can keep going down like this for a long time. As you can see, there are an enormous number of themes. Once again, I'll say that in Commander, well, almost all Magic cards are used. Accordingly, you can come up with something that will match your identity as a person, as an individual. Who are you? What do you want to do with your opponent? Based on this, you can build a deck for yourself. If you've been playing Magic for a long time, the theme is no secret to you, and you can come up with a theme for yourself. For example, infect or some creatures with trample, and build a deck around that theme. If you're a beginner, thought it might be a bit challenging for you. And to make this somewhat difficult path easier, I suggest you start with a precon. Here's how it was for me, for example. I got the Lord of the Rings precons, all 4 of them. I played with them separately in the format they came in. And I settled on cross. The first time I tried them all, but the one that caught my attention the most was the Precon, the Host of Mordor. And here's the list for the Host of Mordor, with Sauron, Lord of the Rings, at the helm. After playing it in the Precon table, meaning pre-assembled decks with a monobase and some gameplay already built in, where everything is generally ready, I realized that, yeah, I really enjoy the reanimation gameplay. And a long time ago, I also started my Magic Arena journey with reanimation. I liked so much that what has already been played can be brought back to the table, and some big creature can attack again. I was so amazed and enjoyed it so much back then that it stuck with me deeply. And I decided, oh, I will definitely build a reanimator. Because in other games I just didn't have that kind of gameplay experience. But in Magic, wow, cool. You can bury some huge beast, for example, a Balrog, and it can even bury itself. I can discard it myself, throw it away, draw a card, it gives me some 2 tokens, and then it gets reanimated. That's so cool. An 8/8, a huge creature with haste, runs, and crushes. Some hobbits, right? All of this could be done here. And considering that I enjoyed the gameplay with Sauron, I realized that some cards here don't fit well and don't synergize effectively. And during the game, analyzing, I realized that, for example, if my commander is Sauron, I don't need the card summons of Saruman in the deck, or subjugate the hobbits. I don't need to gain control over other creatures. I need to hit faces. And gradually the deck transformed. Some cards left, some came in. And this process took 2 years. The current version of my Sauron is absolutely different by almost 80%, or maybe even more, from the Precon I started with. But the constantly changing gameplay is what really hooked me about Magic. If we take this link, Nobakok, and simply compare it with the Precon that was, you can see which cards stayed, and which ones left. Comparison. 84 unique cards for the Precon and for my deck. And what is shared in both decks? So to speak, what repeats in both. We have only 15 cards. That is, from the original Precon, we have the commander left and 15 more cards. Everything else has changed. But this is a gameplay process that took 2 years. And Sauron is now in a state as a deck that can kill the entire table on the 4th or 5th turn. It's very fast, it's quite sudden. Board wipes don't work against it. That is, these are mass removals. What you put in the graveyard means that it will most likely come back in the next turn or two, and in general, cause you pain. There are no weak creatures here. Here, every creature is carefully selected. I can explain for each one what it does here, why it's included, and its purpose. Every spell has the same justification for what it does in the deck. And when I came to such conclusions for the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and even 20th deck, some decks were dismantled because they simply didn't work. I began to understand more and more that my knowledge in Magic is reaching a pretty decent level. And when we started working with some of my acquaintances, analyzing their decks, and bringing them into working condition, despite the fact that the player has been playing Magic for about 20 years, has a large collection, and possesses very old cards, they don't see this synergy. And so we helped one of my acquaintances, then another, and a third. Their decks started to play in a new way, and they began to at least match the speeds used by other players who come to casual Magic evenings. And they even started to win sometimes, and occasionally win consistently. And others were like, okay, we need to do something serious there, undertake some work. And when this work started to heat up, it became very interesting. That's why I actually came here to YouTube. Let's try to help you understand what's happening in the decks using examples from my own decks. Perhaps we'll review your decks and including myself in the coming month. I will probably bring you several games that I really want to record live. We already have such plans, so the content here will be expanding. Subscribe, I would be very glad to have you. In the meantime, I have a question for you. Dear viewer, if you've watched up to this point, a special hello to you. Which deck would you like to know the most about? I talk for quite a long time. If I sit down to talk about a particular deck with all these details, the video might stretch to a couple of hours. So guys, it will be long. And then I'll also show you various playtests, how it unfolds, what starting hands we see, whether it's a good hand or a bad one. What do you think? In my opinion, it's a great hand, because we have something we can bury. We have looting, which we can use to bury. We have an awesome Visions of Ruin, which can cut down enemy artifacts. We can start aggressively with an untapped land. We can start a bit passively with a tapped land, but already discard something. But I'm ready to conduct analysis on the fly for you. Well, let's say we drew a card. Oh, another land. That gives us a surveil trigger. That means we can look at the top card and put it into the graveyard. The graveyard is, consider it, our second hand. Let's start, for example, aggressively. Shock the steam vents, tap it, play Faithless Looting, draw 2, discard 1, and discard tick, 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 tick. Well, let's discard an island. We'll have it there. That's how we started. Looked at 2 cards. Next we have Brass Dragon. Here we can play the next turn, quite passively. We can play Undercity Sewers on the 3rd turn, flashback Faithless Looting. Oops, Nizzle down. And next turn, Toxic Deluge. If desired, if the opponents have set up their board, we can summon Toxic Deluge. Let's move the camera here. Oops. Yes, that's better. We can cast Toxic Deluge and destroy their creatures. If you've developed a lot there, we're very happy for you. If not much, well, we can endure. Overall, our turn can be another Surveil, Blast Furnace, Hellkite. And by the 3rd turn, we have Blast Furnace, Hellkite, Nizzle, Agent of Treachery in the graveyard. Overall, right now we can flashback our looting, exile it, cast it, draw 2 cards, and discard, of course, Ancient Brass Dragon, and we can discard Visions of Ruin. It's a good plan to discard Visions of Ruin. Visions of Ruin allows us to flashback it for just 2 red mana because my commander's mana cost is 8, and this spell in the graveyard will be reduced by 8. Or we can play it by the principle. We play it from hand on the next turn if there are many artifacts on the table, forcing each opponent to sacrifice those artifacts, and then play it again from the graveyard by exiling it, making them sacrifice another artifact. As a result, we will have 4 treasures. With these 4 treasures, we can cast the Relic of Sauron. Or we can simply cast the Relic of Sauron and flashback Visions of Ruin. And in this way, we will get 2 treasures for tomorrow. Therefore, I will most likely do just that. Here we will start the 4th turn. On the 4th turn, we will most likely play a Cephalid as our land. Cast the Relic of Sauron and ask our opponents to sacrifice an artifact each. Most likely by the 4th turn, each of them might have an artifact. And here, we can get from 2 to 3 treasures. Accordingly, we can visually imagine that we are adding 2 treasure tokens. And here we see that on the 5th turn, we can cast our friend Sauron. If we manage to bury something decent like an acceleration. We can reanimate the Ancient Brass Dragon, which will also bring us either an Agent of Treachery, Niv Mizzet, or Blasphemous Hellkite. Let's see what happens. Next turn. Oh, Olga's Guide has come to us. We have a land drop. If we really want to, we can just reanimate all of this. If suddenly the opponents are in a state where they have very strong bards, then let's just say Livendis. And that will be enough for us. We can even say, let's start with a Cabal Ritual, summon Uncle Violentomber. He'll bury Urobrask for us, and Urobrask will bring them all out with haste. That is. And on the next turn, you can tell the commander, we'll have haste and some other junk in the graveyard. Most likely, the opponents won't recover from this because with Living Death, Ancient Brass Dragon, Hellkite, and Nizol along with the Agent of Treachery, well, they'll already deal a lot of damage. 14 damage will come from Ancient Brass Dragon, 10 damage from Brasfala's Hellkite, because with double strike it's another 14. So technically we can already kill one opponent. The others, with their artifacts cut off, without the bard due to Living Death, will already be in a very sad state. This is roughly the state I brought my deck to, and will also get yours into working condition. In doing so, I try not to use the same cards across my decks to avoid repetition. For example, Gamble is the only deck where I use Gamble or Living Death effects. Although you can reanimate in other colors too, and it's very tempting. There. That's all for today. This was Sergei from St. Petersburg. See you.